start?
Yeah.
Hey guys. Hey everyone.
Hey.
Hey. How you going? Hi everyone. We just thought that we'd do a quick video about our experience on the Gibb River Road. We did it last year, which was 2022. So we thought for anyone doing it this year, we can give you our tips. We are aware that it changes year to year, but obviously some of the fundamental things that we learnt on the trip still apply. So here's our best advice, our top tips.
So what I learnt from the first part of the Gibb is we'd pre-booked a lot of the campsites on our first few nights. So we booked 2 nights at Winjana and 2 nights at Silent Grove, just because it's a national park. We just assumed that there was designated sites and, you know, first in, best dressed, but really there's so much space there. You don't need to book. I would actually not recommend it just because you probably don't need that much time in those spots. And it's just like a massive dirt paddock type situation where you just go find your own little spot. So it wouldn't fill up, I would assume. And you just fill out the little paper envelope, how many nights you want to stay, car registration, and put your money in it, and then just go find somewhere to camp.
Those are the only 2 spots we booked.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Megan said, we didn't have to, and everywhere else we didn't struggle to get in.
Yeah.
So, and we went school holidays, right?
We went school holidays. It was actually really busy. So I think as long as you're getting there, you know, before dark, essentially, you'll be fine. And that way it just gives you a bit more freedom for when you're doing the rest of the Gibb. So you're not like locked into certain campsites along the way if you do choose to do like some station stays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A note on those first few campsites, if you're going from the Derby side across to Kununurra, is they've actually got flushing toilets and hot showers, which we were expecting to just go complete basic camping along the whole Gibb. So that was a really good addition to those campsites.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
Very big surprise.
For us, doing the Gibb River Road was probably the longest / roughest trip we had done in one go. So we had to do quite a bit of research prior, trying to understand things like what tyre pressure is best, what spare parts to take, and that kind of thing. So tyre pressure for the corrugations is probably, as most people would know, the most important one and the easiest one to do yourself. So we probably set ours to around 20, but we could probably have gone a little bit lower. So tyre pressure plus your speed, and I guess speed changes car to car as well. So obviously when towing, it's quite smart to go a bit slower. We found that we sat between 60 and 80, and there was, you know, a few times where you could hit a sweet spot and you're just kind of traveling on top of the corrugations when your tire pressure's right. That was the 2 biggest things with the roads. The roads, I guess they change year to year, especially with all the water that they've had up there recently. Each part of the Gibb could be very different to our experiences. We found that there was plenty of really smooth stuff, and then there was quite a bit of
bad patches.
Bad, just real rough corrugation. Like, we expected the worst, and I guess we hit some bad stuff, but it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the way we kept saying to each other as well, like, it's not as bad as we'd expected.
No,
which
that's
was a
right.
nice surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think when we hit some bad stuff, we were like, this is it, this is the bad stuff. Yeah, some bits were just like shaly rocks and other bits were just like big ruts. So yeah, it's all different, and it's all part of the experience.
We'd probably recommend going to either Derby or Kununurra Visitor Centre, because they'll have information if like a grader's just been through, and probably a bit more of what the actual road conditions are like for that season.
Yeah, and there's plenty of Facebook pages that people update it quite regularly as well, so you know about those conditions. I
think one thing, talking about road conditions as well, it's always dusty. You can probably pretty much expect it won't rain during the time you're on the Gibb, so there is a lot of that bull dust, so obviously it can get quite busy. A lot of like cattle trucks, and we saw like a few petrol tankers and stuff, so obviously that just brings up a lot of dust, so that's probably something to consider when driving too.
Yeah, I think from a mechanical point of view, to have a sock or to have a thing over your snorkel is pretty much essential these days to keep your air filter as clean as possible. And then safety with the dust is also important. So like Megan said, there's plenty of trucks, and people, they go usually a bit slower than you would, so and I think most crashes and that happen when people try and overtake in the dust, so I think you just kind of give trucks the right of way. And I guess if you're towing,
lights on as well.
Put your lights on. And if you're towing and like a car or is behind you,
obviously going faster than what you would be
going, pull over and let them go, because people
That's when accidents happen.
Yeah, we got caught up behind like quite a few vans and
And
stuff.
they were going like 20.
But you couldn't overtake because of the dust.
Yeah.
So like.
And they wouldn't pull over. So just common sense.
Yeah, just common sense, and that happens quite a bit. So that's probably a big one as well.
Yeah. So another thing that's good to know is obviously where you can get fuel, food, water, get rid of rubbish while on the Gibb. So Joss and I, we took 2 weeks to do the whole thing, including El Questro. So obviously that means our car was absolutely packed of food, water, extra fuel to try and get us through. And then obviously you accumulate rubbish as you go through all your food and stuff. What we did, we had our first top up of fuel. I think there was a few extra groceries that I needed, and got rid of our rubbish and filled it with water, I think.
No, we didn't.
At Menning?
You could, but we didn't.
Okay, so we didn't run out of water, which is nice. But yeah, we did all those 3 things in Menning because we spent 3 nights at Menning Gorge. So just at the station roadhouse there, that's where you can do all those things. It's obviously not cheap to buy your groceries while you're on the Gibb, but if you're not going to last, or if you're actually spending longer on the Gibb than you'd thought, then obviously you just buy what you can where you can. Yep. The second stop, we got a few more like extra snacks and water and things. Again, another fuel option. It was Drysdale Station, which is on when we turned to go up to Mitchell Plateau. It's just probably one of the first stops there, and it's a really popular one. I think they even do meals, don't they? Like pub meals.
I think so, yeah. It's also one where a lot of people leave their caravans and then do a day trip up to Mitchell Falls.
Yeah.
So you can camp at Drysdale. Yeah,
so they're the 2 main points where you can do that. And I think at Ellenbray you could get water. I don't think they had fuel, but yeah, that was another water spot you could as well.
You can get fuel at El Questro, but you're so close to Kununurra already.
You'd be, surely.
So we did take a spare jerry can of fuel and water. I think we ended up using all of our water. I
think we ran out on the Pentecost, which was our last night before El Questro, and we had our last like actual meal at Pentecost. So we did plan pretty well for those 2 weeks that we were there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we splurged when we got to El Questro, which I think we did obviously Derby to Kununurra. I think that's also a benefit of doing that way if you can plan it, is that you finish at El Questro, so you get the luxuries of you finishing, have nice facilities, good campsite, showers, laundry, a pub, and like meals and coffees and stuff. So that was a nice treat after 2 weeks of isolation.
Yeah, I agree. Something that people, I guess, choose to do or not to do is to go all the way up to Mitchell Falls. Half the people we spoke to did, and half the people we spoke to were planning on not doing it.
Yeah.
We literally did not decide until we got to the turn-off.
Oh, no, I think we decided not to do it.
Yeah, true.
We were like, no, we're not going to put the risk for our car, because obviously that was only like a couple months into our trip. We were super heavy, obviously, with all the stuff we needed for the Gibb, and so we had said, no, we're not doing it. Yeah,
we thought and assumed, from what you hear, that the track to like Mitchell Falls is hectic, it's rough, people roll over their cars, like break down, blah blah blah. So we're like, well, financially and mechanically it's not worth our time and money. We got to Gibb River Crossing, which is a short trip up the Columbo Road, and then we met up with a couple of our friends who pretty much convinced us to do it.
Yeah, so they just did it. We met them as they came back, and they just said the road's not that bad. They told us a few bits where it was washed out, and just gave us a bit of advice. And then we just turned to each other and we just said, we've got to.
Yeah, I think getting that first-hand experience from them.
Yeah.
So again, this year could be totally different with roads and that.
So we were lucky. The grader had just done, I think it was about half of it was done with the grader.
Yeah.
And they said it was the first few Ks from Gibb River crossing to Drysdale that was the worst. So that was that first bit of just corrugation.
So we knew once we'd done that, it
wasn't too bad.
It was relatively smooth sailing, and it was. And so we camped at King Edward, which we
love.
would
Cannot
highly
recommend enough.
You can swim there. There's toilets.
It's very private.
Yeah, real private. And then it's probably what, a 3-hour drive, slow drive to Mitchell Falls, or the start of the walk.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. We just took it easy.
Yeah.
You just go slow. It's not like.
But it didn't feel like a long 3 hours.
No, not really. It's quite.
I think we left at like 7 a.m.
It's quite an enjoyable drive. It's scenic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's not like a hardcore full drive.
No.
It's like just like a few rocks and that kind of. If you're considering doing it, get the information about the roads.
Yes. Talk to someone that's just completed it.
Yeah, talk to someone who's coming the other way, and there's plenty of people around.
Yeah.
And base your stuff off that, because I think That's the best knowledge that
Yeah.
you'll get of that bit, and it's worth it.
It is. I was
It's
going
worth
to say, I think for Joss and I, like Joss had already been before, he'd flown in, but I think for us as a couple to go and experience that, especially like, you know, towards the end of our Gibb experience, it was honestly a highlight. The hiking, like the walk in, it's nice and easy. There's lots of indigenous rock art, just waterfall after waterfall, and then you get to the actual point where you're looking at Mitchell Falls. It was also like, goosebumps.
Yeah, it's well worth it. And then you can just drive back and spend your next night at King Edward, or you can go all the way to Drysdale.
Yeah, so we just went from King Edward up and stayed back at King Edward so we didn't have to drive in the dark on that road. Yeah. So just check the conditions and then make that call what's best for you and your car. But yeah, luckily for us, the roads were in all right condition, so we did it.
Yeah, and if you're towing, leave it at Drysdale.
Yeah. Or if it's not that bad, you can take it to King Edward.
Yeah, there was caravans.
Yeah.
So after doing it and doing, what did we do, 14 days?
I think it was 14 nights.
14 nights, and it's definitely something we'd want to do again. So we thought we would let you know what our, I guess, ideal itinerary would be for people who are doing it for the first time as well. I think ideally, obviously it's different for which way you're travelling, but ideally you leave from Derby, because like Megan said before, Equestria is an awesome place to end. So I think that our ideal itinerary would be one night at Winjana.
Definitely.
One night, so I guess Derby to Winjana.
Yep.
Yeah. Or maybe 2 nights there and go do Tunnel Creek. We didn't do Tunnel Creek.
I was too scared.
But we'll do it next time. So 1 or 2 nights at Winjana. We did a night in between at March Flag Glen, which was a free camp. But then I would say you could go straight to Silent Grove.
Yeah, right? I wouldn't. We only did that because we had so much time. It was a nice camp, but I wouldn't recommend like definitely camping there. Silent
Grove, I'd do 1 night.
1 night.
More than enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then from there you can go. We went all the way to
Manning. Because between Silent Grove and Manning, there's a few different like side waterfalls.
So that's
which
probably
nice.
a big day.
That's a good day.
Yeah, good day of driving and like walking.
Yeah.
How many nights at Manning do you think?
We did 3, and I do not regret it because it was absolutely spectacular. Yeah. But if you're short on time, I would try and do at least 2.
Yeah, I think at least 2 as well. Some people don't like how crowded the camping can get, but it is one of the more popular.
But it's also massive though, so go further away from the bush, especially if you've got toilets. Like you don't need to be right on the creek.
Yeah, it is a big area.
Yeah.
Then after there, we went to Han River, which is a small little river, one of my favourites, just because we were able to camp right on the water.
And so much bird life.
So much bird life. You can just chill in the water. We had our fire. Like right there.
Yeah.
So I think you want to ideally add these little spots in. So that's where you have your free days, and then you don't travel as much. So we probably got in there like 2 or something, right?
Yeah, because what was the gorge we did between Manning and there?
Barnet River Gorge? Might have been Barnet River Gorge. Yeah, it was Barnet River Gorge. Yep.
Anyways, there's a small little day trip you can do in there. So take your time from Manning, go in and do the side shoot, and then just go to Han River for a night just to slow it down.
Then from there we went to Gibb River Crossing, which is what
cool.
we just discussed about before going up to
But it's
Mitchell.
also a good campsite.
It is good. Again, you can swim there.
Fishing.
It's right on the road. There's fishing, and it's a good spot to kind of start your trip up to Mitchell Falls, I'd say. And you can camp on all sides, or 3 of the, I guess, sides of the river. From there, if you're going to Mitchell, like we said, King Edward, 2 nights, or Drysdale.
But King Edward is beautiful campsite and really awesome waterfall and like a billabong swimming, which we didn't experience anywhere else on the Gibb, which is cool.
Yeah, true. From there, we went all the way to Ellenbrae.
That was a big day for us.
Yeah. So there probably is, again, if you've got the time, find spots in between there to camp.
We just got the scones and a mango smoothie, and then we went to
Pentecost.
Yes, we went all the way to the Pentecost to camp, but we actually did stop in and we thought we might have camped at Jurak River, but unfortunately all the better camp spots there were taken, so we went up onto like this lookout bit, and it was just a bit like with rubbish, and it wasn't that nice, so we just said we're not vibing it and just kept going, because we also didn't feel like we weren't too tired, so we just drove all the way to the Pentecost, which was lovely. Yeah, the Pentecost is one where it's really good. Obviously you can't swim. It's salties. Yeah, there's obviously good fishing though, I guess. Yes. But it does get super busy. It does. So you got to get in early. Yeah. Like we managed to get a spot, luckily, because
we're small.
Yeah.
If you've got a van,
It would have been hard.
get there early. Yeah.
Also though, from the Pentecost though, it's not on the Pentecost, so if you're wanting something more private but not on the river, you can go up further and there's like a lookout, and it was really beautiful because you're like, instead of looking at the river, you're looking at the Coburn Ranges.
Yeah.
And that was really spectacular. We went up there for sunset, and I said to Joss, we actually could have just camped up there.
Next time I'd happily camp up there.
Same. And then we finished it with, did we do 2 or 3 nights at El Cuestro?
2, I think.
2,
yeah.
and I think, to me, I think 2 was enough.
Yeah, same. I
It
think
is a bit more expensive,
yeah,
obviously.
obviously you got to pay. There's all the facilities, but 2 days is enough because you can do, the day you arrive, we did a walk. The next full day, you go and do more walks, and then on the way out, we did Zebedee and Emma Gorge on our way to Connemara. So I think 2 days is good for El Cuestro. You can go to the pub at night and stuff. So
yeah, it's a bit more social. You meet more people that have just either finished or starting, and it's just a really nice vibe of everyone that is, you know, doing the similar thing.
But yeah, that's probably a good, I think we did over 14 days. I would say 10 days to 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. A thing to note for us as well, during the 2022 season, not all of the homesteads were open.
Yeah.
So unfortunately there's a few on there that I wanted to go off and do a bit more offshoots and more stays, but they weren't taking visitors. So obviously you have to check that as well at the visitors.
If you're into staying at the stations, that obviously adds in a few more days as well.
Yeah, definitely. I just remembered something as well. Water crossings. There was a couple of water crossings. A lot of them in the middle, getting into Silent Grove, that offshoot to Leonard's Gorge, and a few others, I think at Manning. That wasn't that high, like probably to the middle of the tyres or something. But then getting into El Cuestro was much higher at that time of year. That would have been probably end of June, early July.
Yeah.
And then the river crossing to get from El Cuestro into El Cuestro Gorge, for me, was very scary. Water was over the bonnet, and obviously the car was making weird noises. But we've got a snorkel, so just get a snorkel.
I think the general advice is just to do the Gibb River Road with a snorkel.
Yeah.
A couple of other things that I did prior on the car was I added diff breathers to our diffs just for the high water, which we did go through a really high water, especially for our car.
Yeah, our car is lower than other 4 drives.
Yeah. You can still do El Cuestro Gorge if you can't drive through it, because plenty of people are willing to give you lifts across
on the side of the car, on their roofs, whatever. But that is one that you cannot get your car across if you don't have a snorkel.
Yeah, don't risk it. Thanks for watching. If you've got any other thoughts or any other comments or advice for other people or any questions for us, please leave them in the comments below, that we'll be happy to answer them, or send us a direct message on our Instagram.
And I've actually done 2 very detailed blogs on our website about the Gibb River, our itinerary, what we enjoyed, and just things like that. So
and we wrote them not long after we did it.
So it was still fresh in our mind.
It's very fresh. So it's way more in depth than what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
And subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
Thank you.